Ladies and gentlemen, you're in store for an absolute treat tonight. And I've asked Haskell's permission to do a little business first. In case you missed it, Waxhaw has been named Best of the Best by Charlotte Magazine. The little article says, it's official, Waxhaw is the best of the best server in 2019. Charlotte Magazine's annual compiled list of the best of health and wellness, kids and family, Fairtown as the best server to watch. That's not news for those of us who call this area home, but now the secret is out. I've been going through a file cabinet. Sometimes that's good, sometimes it's dangerous. And Haskell and I went to the same school, Waxhaw High School. This was an assignment that I'm sure we both had. How I should behave in school. The manner in which a student behaves or conducts himself or herself is a very important matter. People always judge you by the way you conduct yourself. If you are impolite, saucy, loud, and unmannerly, people usually think very little of you. And the reflection falls on your parents when you are actually to blame. A few of the numerous ways by which you can show you are well behaved at school are: always walk down the hallways or corridors, not rush as if you were going to a fire. Don't block the traffic by standing and gossiping. Always let your teachers pass through doors before you. If you accidentally bump into someone, say, I'm sorry, I beg your pardon. When classes begin, take your seat and remain quiet and be a show-off at any time. When someone makes a mistake, don't criticize him. If you need to correct a classmate, do so in a friendly, kind manner. When the bell rings, remain seated until you are dismissed. Never give or answer any assistance from classmates during examinations or tests. Don't peek on the teacher's desk, as it is private. And be careful not to eavesdrop on teachers or anyone else. When you eat in the cafeteria, don't push in line. Be orderly. Be sure not to powder your face or comb your hair in the lunchroom. During assembly, be quiet when someone is speaking and applaud when the speaker has finished, but not too loudly. A person who is well behaved at school never destroys school property by writing on walls or desks or by doing wood carving. A well-behaved student shows respect for the faculty and is polite. He tries his best to do each task set before him. Be a good sport. Take part in games. Be cooperative in play. Always gets his lessons. Being well behaved at school will pay off in the end. You will have the respect and admiration of your classmates, your teachers, and your friends. Haskell, thank you for letting me share that. Did you say your essay?
I know that you saying that to the wrong crowd. You need to go to the first president.
Dr. Haskell Eragle, International Floral Designer, son of J.I. and Ruth Burgess Eargle. He had an older brother, Joe, a sister, Margaret, Bert, then came Haskell, then came Louis, then came Zane. What a wonderful family. He is our most famous man of flowers. He is demanded all around the world. as a floral designer and a speaker. He has received the coveted award of Distinguished Service from the American Institute of Floral Designers. He has an honorary doctorate of fine arts from Pfeiffer University. He has done more fundraisers for the Waxhaw Women's Club than we could count. His floral designs displayed have been witnessed at the Mint in Charlotte, the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston. Minneapolis Institute of the Arts was also his host. He has been past president of North Carolina State Floral Association and the Southern Retail Floral Association. He served on boards throughout the United States, Mexico, England, Holland, Germany, Canada, and Taiwan. He is beloved by garden clubs all over the world. Hollywood celebrates our Haskell. From Holland to Mexico to Taiwan. For 31 years, this fine gentleman was associated with the Tournament of Roses Parade in Pasadena. He not only arranged flowers for the floats, he served as one of the 3 judges for the parade. He has worked with the awards, done flowers for the stars' dressing rooms, and yet he chose not to move to any of these exotic places, but to stay right here in his hometown, Waxhaw. He was in the Army and served in Korea. For 9 years he worked with Schultz Florist in Charlotte. Then it was cat sales in Monroe, and he bought that business and operated it for 25 years. With much pride and admiration, I present our storyteller for the evening, my friend, Haskell Eragle.
I don't know where she got all that in. She told me things I didn't know. I was born in this town on West South Main Street in 1927. And growing up in Waxhaw was absolutely wonderful. It was like a story you would read in a library book. There was no movies, any distraction. Life went on in your home, in church, and school. Everything revolved around that. And there were several groups of people in Waxhaw. There were the town people, there were the country people. Now they rode the bus and picked cotton and worked in the field during the split term. And the people in town just goofed off. And then there was, we call them mill hillers, which is absolutely terrible. That was another group over here on this mill village. And they went to Waxhaw School, but did not participate, many of them, in activities that went on in our school, our town. They sort of lived to themselves, and that's an awful feeling that we had, but we didn't know any different. That's the way we learn. Now, women in that era usually stayed at home unless there were no jobs for women, unless they were a school teacher. They were all women school teachers back then, and there was just very few women in the workplace, and some men didn't have jobs in that period. And it was very sad, and people were poor But everybody was in the same boat, so it didn't matter. You didn't know whether you were poor or not. Our yard was the playground for the town practically. The ball was in the front yard, and my mother said if she ever got a piece of shrubbery, we used that for a base. She just gave up on taking care of the yard. Then we had a basketball court in the back, and we had chickens, we had a cow, we had a pig, we had ducks and guineas and anything that moved. Seems like we had all that, and we had a hive of bees during the polio epidemic for my brother's son to take care of. So all the activity was at home. And then we go to school, and Johnny Byron is here, and Sarah Embley, his cousin, said that he had a program of operetta, Tom Sawyer, and that he was going to give me a copy of it, but he hasn't done it yet.
Haskell, I'm gonna deliver. I will deliver it.
All right,
I'll deliver it. Yep.
was Tom Sawyer, and I don't know what I did, but I was in it. Most of the people that were in Tom Sawyer were living in town because the people that rode the bus would have to go home when the bus left. So I don't know how many of those people were in the operettas, but I'm sure several of them were. Now,
Charles was.
Charles
was. Charles Baker, Helen J. Gamble.
yeah, I said all townspeople.
Okay, I'm sorry. Sorry.
And, I don't know, Miss Madinez that played the piano at school and for every chapel program. And it was just wonderful because I'm sure she could reach way over an octave. Played very well and taught music. And many people in town took from her. Did you, Dorley?
I did.
Good. All right, now Dorley Wiley Brown is here, and her father was Presbyterian minister and lived where your house. Brenda, I got it, lived in that house, and the road was paved on that side of the street right beyond your house. And the Ashleys lived in the house, the last house on that street. And Bum Ashley had an old car, and that was a muddy road, and we would push that car up to that where the pavement started, and we would ride down the hill. Now, parents now would no more let the children do that, but there was no traffic. There were just very few cars in town. The Masseys always had a car, brothers, and if one got a new Buick, the other would. Finally, they upped to Cadillacs. And I guess Mr. Wiley had a car, but that later. And then Mr. Jesse Williams, the banker, had a car. And there were very few cars in town. I don't know if Mr. Baker had a car.
I think he did at one point.
Mr. McCain drove a truck. That's Gladys's father. Now, Joni asked me, where did we get groceries? Well, there were several grocery stores in Waxhaw, starting out down where it says Antiques. That was a Tyson's grocery store. And most of the people that worked in the mill bought groceries there. I'm sure they had charge accounts. Then you come on up to would be the farmer's store. They sold groceries. And then bakers sold groceries and meat. And then T.R. Nesbitt had a grocery store. And I don't know about the masses, if they sold groceries or not. But Mr. Hudson, that's where we bought groceries. And we would go down there and buy a dime's worth of bologna. And I'd like to see how much you get for a dime. But we cooked out in the yard. And when we got money, we would have bologna to cook. Normally, we would have things out of the garden.
Right.
Now, somebody asked how I got interested in floral. Well, we always played in the yard, and we loved the dead cat. Absolutely loved it. And couldn't wait for a goldfish to die. Because we had funerals for them. And I did the flowers. I started when I was about 9. And I'm still good. My brother was always the money part. And we used honeysuckle leaves for money. And we would make hamburgers out of cucumbers or tomatoes out of the garden. No meat ever. And so we were in style then. You know? we had to entertain ourselves. And that was all over town that people did that. We gathered in people's yards and played games. And we had no distractions, no theaters to go to. We didn't go to anything except to home, school, and church. And we couldn't wait till school to be out to go to Bible school. That was one of the highlights of the year. And now you have to just beg your children to go to Bible school. But we had, that was to look forward to. And Miss Clement Gordon was the first grade teacher in Waxhaw. And she taught Bible school at the Methodist church. Then as soon as that was over, we'd go to the Presbyterian church, and she was the teacher there. Now, the Baptist church had Bible school, but it wasn't as active as the other two. Now, the Methodist was the premier Bible school. I mean, we just had wonderful things. The best thing, we locked people in the toilet. It was an outside toilet. And we had no bathroom. There were very few bathrooms in town. And it was more on this side, the plumbing, and on the other side of the street, none. And if a house caught on fire, on that side of the street, you just said, burn, baby. And over on this side of the street, they had fire hydrants. And where the Jant house was on fire. And Mr. Bangle, the Methodist preacher, ran down up here to the Niven Price Company and got a boat of red material, ran down the railroad track and flagged the train because the hose from the hydrant went across the railroad track. So he stopped the train. The house was burned. They were throwing things out the window, like a bed or dresser. And I said, if our house catches on fire, I don't want them in there throwing our stuff out the street. Let it burn. But thank goodness we have hydrants all over town now. Okay, now, what else did you want me to talk about?
We had a session today. Talk about the murder in Waxhaw. As a little kid, that was always intriguing. Like there was no crown here until,
No,
no,
and, this old man, I'm not gonna call him name,
okay.
killed his wife with a window wave. They had, you know, these waves that you have in the road windows up and down. And he died in prison. An old man, and they always said the house was haunted, but she haunted it when she was alive. That's
Haskell, pause a minute while Joey's gonna help you with other stories. The brownies and the ice cream, our gracious hostess, Karen Johnson and her friend, we decided this would be an birthday party for Haskell, because his birthday is not till October, right, Haskell? So we just had a birthday party for Haskell, and I want you to sing happy birthday, please. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Haskell. Happy birthday to you. Yeah, you listened, he told you.
We need to know how many birthdays a year do you have?
That's what I wanted. These are all unplanned. If it was left up to me, they would be none. Because I will be 92 in October. Well, I always had a great interest for flowers. And I'm sure I got that from my grandmother, maternal grandmother. She always had lots of flowers. And we had lots of children. And I thought I was an only child. And I thought how wonderful it'd be if I was, it was a word. My eyes are keeping up appearance. But my cousin was an only child and lived 1 block away. And if they had a cake, they just begged him to eat some of it. And if we had a cake, it just devoured it. We had to just have a share. And I thought, oh, how wonderful it'd be to have all the cake you want. But now that I've outlived all of them, I'm happy we had lots of children because we had to make do for our entertainment. And mine was always the floral group, and I continued. Now, I started working out of high school at a florist and loved it, and that was in Charlotte. And I worked for 9 years and just assisted. Never made anything, but I really did learn the business. And so when they closed, they were the first shop in Charlotte. And when they closed, I went to Monroe, and it was entirely different clientele. We had, in Charlotte, had all the carriage trade. People would come drive with their chauffeurs and park out front. It was on North Trine Street, right across from Montaldo's. And they would buy boxes, huge cut flower boxes of flowers to go in their home. Miss Spring from Fort Mill would come, and all the rich people. And I never will forget the time that we went to this woman's house to plan a Christmas party. I wasn't planning, I just was along to help. And the manager of the shop said, well, you've got all these columns on the front and with these urns on them, and we'll put poinsettias in them, in all these urns. And she said, well, wouldn't they freeze? And he said, of course they would, but before the guests leave, we will replace them. And she said, wouldn't that be expensive? And Mr. Aiken said, my God, woman, you don't know how to be rich. That is just absolutely wonderful. That would be the way we would do it. You know, if you want to, like he said, she didn't know how to be rich. But I loved working there and loved seeing all this finery that I did not have in Monroe. But I stayed there, Gladys said
25 years.
25, okay. I worked for 19. And so, but I did travel a lot. I would do photography for floral magazines. And at one time I was the most photographed designer in the world. Because I did for FTD and Teleflora, all the wire services, make arrangements, and they were photographed. And that was done in Icon, the biggest photography studios in the country there. And that's because of the furniture. But I did that, and then that left an opening for other projects, like going to, in 1980, I was invited to be a judge at the Rose Parade, and the person that recommended me said, don't mention it, because they may change their mind, or somebody may vote against you. So, they did, and I went, and I got to Charlotte, and this person was reading the paper, and it said, local man chosen for judge at Rose Parade. And I thought, oh, that's me. I went and got a paper, and I read that over and over and over to Los Angeles. And I thought, what kind of accent am I going to use? And I thought, dear God, you got the worst one of anybody there. But they were 3 judges. One was a newscaster on NBC. One was a furniture designer, and Lawrence Melchior's daughter-in-law. So I thought, oh, how am I going to act in front of those people? And they felt the same way. They thought I was a celebrity. We all admitted later how we felt about it. But that was a wonderful experience. And after that, well, Frank Sinatra was Grand Marshal that year. And a pompous, you know what. And so then I started going every year and loved it. So I went for 31 years and worked, and I do not know where that time went, but the same people did the same jobs every year, and it was just like old home week. And it was wonderful. And most of it was volunteer. They paid my airfare, or I wouldn't have gone. But that, I think he did that because I had the judge's badge, and it made them look good. Ex-judge. And then I would do, the Academy Awards. And I did that for 3 years, and then I finally decided, I don't like this. I don't know who the movie stars are. You know, I thought, is Betty Grable not in it? I said to a kid that was helping us, is Gone with the Wind getting anything? He didn't know what Gone with the Wind was. But, you know, the movie stars were just ordinary looking people. And you weren't impressed. I was looking for Mae West to impress somebody. That was probably before any of y'all's time. Did anybody remember Mae West? Oh, you do. Well, she was quite a character in the movie set. But I've had an interesting career. And I can sit and think back on a lot of things I might have done differently. And then I thought, no, I did the best I could at the time. Any questions?
I just want to say before you open up, that I've always admired you and Miss Ruth, your family, because you've always been so humble. And that is a thing that has always stuck out in my mind.
Well, I'm trying to work on that. Thank you.
Miss Ruth and Joe and Margaret.
Yeah.
They were all just
Well,
humble.
my father worked for the railroad and came home on weekends and we dreaded him coming. Because we had to wear shoes, had to go get our hair cut every week. And you know, a child don't need that. They need to get dirty and cut and bruised. And so we did that all week long, and then on the weekend, we hid the skates. They would go under the steps. And our lady that worked with us, Miss Aggie, for 42 years, would take the dog home on the weekend. Stay with her. Because Daddy was always afraid a dog would bite us. We might have done better if it had.
Pastor, talk a little bit about your granddaddy, Dr. Burgess, and your aunt, Miss Eva and Miss Lola. Don't you have some stories about that?
Well, yeah, that Lola worked at the bank, and they robbed the bank, and I said, she was an old maid, and I said, I bet that's the first time a man's put her on the floor. Well, that was her playing with friends. She loved all those bank robberies. And you know what? I absolutely thought maybe she was secretly in love with Mr. Jesse Williams. Do you think that could possibly happen? You know, he was club-footed and not very pretty. Yeah. I think it was a Buick.
Talking about Nancy, what kind of mom she was, and like, when I think about, to live in this life where there was no TV, no real interaction except home and church, for all of you to go on and do pretty fabulous stuff, she must have done something right.
She encouraged whatever your interest was, and we had to make our own entertainment, you know, and if we skated down the hall of the house, that was all right, because it didn't hurt anything. And we just had a wonderful childhood.
No spankings?
Well, I'm not going every day. You'd have to have 6 children and raise them on your own. But my father went to the Veterans Hospital when I was 9 years old. So, and he was there 9 years before he died. And my mother up and moved. There were no jobs for anybody. And certainly nobody was going to college at that time because my father, everything he had, his assets were frozen. So my mother moved to Marietta, Georgia. Her sister lived there, and Bell Aircraft was built in a big bomber plant there, and there were jobs available. So we moved there, and I went to high school in Marietta with all the bomber trash they referred to us. And so my mother was a brave woman to tackle all the things she did. Now I'm going to tell one more story and then I'm going to hush. My cousins came here when it was the last run of the railroad. And they were from Raleigh. So they bought all this stuff in Waxhaw, and they were going to come back and get it. But my cousin bought a churn at AWD's company and decided to fill it full of her shoes and carry it back on the train. So they got on the train with her churn, and the conductor said, "When are you bringing the cow?" That was wonderful. Okay, I think I've covered.
I wanted you to talk about Miss Addie.
Oh, now Miss Addie worked for us for 42 years. And I think and of course she was paid up until my daddy went to the hospital, Veterans Hospital, and he, like I said, everything was frozen, and Miss Addie just continued to come to work. And she was like a member of the family. And it got so that as she got older, she really didn't do a lot, but she came every day. And after her family moved her across town, she would slip off and come back. and tell Mama, "We got to work the garden out." Mama said, "Well, we will in a little bit. You just sit there." And she would go to sleep. And Mama, when I got home from work, I would take her home. And she always said, "Aren't you going the wrong way?" Because Miss Addie lived this way all her life, but had moved on this side. She was there through thick or thin. And I guess that my mother kept her in food and whatever, because there was no money for those few years. But Miss Addie stayed there till she was 105. And my mother was out of town when she died, and I did the casket spray, and it was just something to die for. It just made everybody in town talk about it. And the lady that had taken Miss Aggie's place came to work, and she said, "Everybody talking about Miss Grandma's spread that we made," and said, "I bet it was 3. I said, "More like 5 or 6. So she'd go back and tell everybody how expensive it was. Then this lady died, and I had to make her flowers. And then the next one died, and I had to do her flowers. And it has been, we don't have any now, so I don't have to do any more help. Haskell Eragle.
And she was like a part, I mean,
Yeah, Miss
I
Annie
think
was
we
like,
love with that.
she was like a member of the family. Okay, any questions?
How many people lived in Waxhaw when you brought up?
Pardon?
How many people lived in Waxhaw?
Oh, 500. Now, I didn't talk about, we played in the street, the road, because there were no cars, and we would go to the Y, do you know where that is? 521.
Nope, yeah.
Well, we would skate there and have a marshmallow road, or swing on the back of a wagon, horse wagon. There were lots of those. And then they had the gin and cotton. So that was a big deal. Most of that was horse wagons. People didn't have trucks.
Haskell, talk about camp meeting a little bit.
Oh, okay. Well, camp meeting, to people that don't know about it, they think it's a cult. It's a Methodist church campground, but it's, anybody can go there if they're lucky enough to have a tent. And all the cottages are called tents. And it was started in 18 something. It's on, and the arbor is original, and it's on the historic register. And it's 1 week every year. And I think we've been all our lives, most of them. 'Cause for a while, there were lots of places you could rent or just use. But now, it's different. Everybody wants a tent, but the only way you get it is inherited. But there's 80-something, and they're always filled. And they have, when it started, they used to have service 6 or 8 times a day. But now they have it only twice. But they have a program like a Bible school for the young children, and there are many children there. I'd say more than 100. And your father, Preacher Tom McLean, led the singing there forever. And they have a choir, which is volunteer, and preaching, and they usually have pretty good preachers. Sometimes they're not the very best. A lot of people don't want to go there, it's too hot. It's easy to get somebody to come for a week, so they usually have 2 preachers, for one the first part of the week and one the second part. But it's been going on all these years, and I guess it will continue till all of us fade away. There's always young people to take over. Lots of young people on the tents now. All right, Gladys, does that cover that?
That's a good job. Good job, thank you.
All right. Any other questions?
Now, how did you get to work at Charlotte?
How did I get to work?
Yeah, how did you travel? How long did it take?
How long did it take?
Did you ride the bus or have a car?
No, we had a car. My mother bought a station wagon, 1947 Ford station wagon that was the classiest looking thing in town. And we drove that to Charlotte.
But she couldn't drive, she never learned.
No, she never learned to drive. And my sister didn't learn because she never did learn. Margaret refused to learn to drive. She said, why I wanna learn to drive? I said, to get to church and back, if you don't go anywhere else. And I said, she said, well, I don't have a car. So this friend of ours taught her to drive, or did his very best. Margaret would put that little old Plymouth in reverse. If there's anything behind her, she just knocked it out. And so finally, I said to her, Margaret, we need to talk about your driving. I said, you have wrecked every car that's been on this yard. And I think it's that, oh, if she hit somebody, it made her so furious, they could get out of the way. And she ran into every bush in our yard.
And backed up the telephone line. And backed up the car up the telephone line. Not the cable. Yeah.
Up the post. But
We talked about that today, because I was wondering, like, how they got anywhere. And you talked about riding the train to Monroe.
if we wanted to go to Monroe, that was before 1940. We would go on the train and come back on the train. We had the Bow Eagle. Does anybody remember that? Do you guys?
I do.
Well, it's a little short train that ran from Atlanta, I guess, to Hamlet. And we rode a pass, so that's why we would go on the train. We didn't have a car. And that's how my mother moved to Georgia, on the train. Now, my father worked 29 years for the railroad, and the 30th year, he was on sick leave, but they didn't have a record of it. So he never got any pension, anything from the railroad. So that was sort of with me. My mother accepted it, I didn't, because when my father died, they lost his body. It was to go to Waxhaw, and it went to Warsaw. So your father was doing the funerals, Dorothy. And so they had to postpone the funeral for a few more days. So that was, the railroad people tried to get my mother to sue the railroad, but she said no, that Daddy was too loyal and loved him, and she wouldn't do it.
And y'all, you know, we've heard about Andrew Jackson's father's body getting lost, going to the church. Now, here's another story about the body going to the wrong place. Goodness gracious.
Okay, any other questions?
Haskell, did you ever have to milk the goat that your granddaddy had?
No, I didn't do any.
You didn't learn to do that? No farm.
I just did dainty work with life.
You just made the flowers for the animals that passed away.
Oh, yeah. I said, you give me a dead cat in a shoebox, and I'll show you a hell of a funeral. And she said, I'm going to use that in my next book. But she didn't. But she thought that was a good remark. Y'all know who she was, don't you? Okay. On the Tonight Show. Who was?
She was Friday. She wrote Friday.
Okay. Well, that's it, folks.
I want to thank Haskell. Wasn't this splendid? Just Next month, our storytellers are here. Dorothy Wiley Brown and her husband Bob and their daughter Beth. And is Leanne gonna be able to come? They have two daughters, one who is a professor and a writer, correct me now, and Beth is a musician. So we're gonna have several different avenues for you to enjoy in July. Now, Ron Zimmerman is with us tonight, and he was our speaker earlier, and he's the railroad man.
Yeah, now Ron has his books here. If any of you are interested, they really are wonderful. It's a complete history of the railroad, from the time it started till it about fizzled out.
Ron was at April 1888 for 130 years. So
Yeah, the first train to come to Waxhaw was,
Or in Waxhaw, he brought some copies of his book, if you would like to talk with him about that.
yeah, the first train to come to Waxhaw was No Fooling, April 1st, 1888.
Well, now I want to know when you're going to give one.
I'm gonna surprise you.
No, I think you should.
You do?
Yeah,
All right.
yes. Don't everybody think.
Thank you, Karen, and your crew for making the building so pleasant for us and always having refreshments and the birthday party for Haskell. My friend over here on the tall stool, several of you have said, "Class, are you taping it? We ought to keep this. This is history, isn't it?" And I said, well, in the beginning, we had somebody who did a tape or two, didn't we, Karen? And that sort of fizzled. And I do think Kevin has not really promised, but told me he would try to come every time. So we'll have a video, I think, not just a tape, but the video.
If you'd like to have a copy of tonight, let them know and we'll figure out how to do that.
I'm gonna try to post it up on Waxhaw Entrepreneurs, so with a link on to like YouTube.
Those of you who would like to have a copy of the tape, yeah, be sure to talk to them. So please stay, visit, enjoy each other. We are so happy you're here. And come back in July. Yes,
Thank you, those of you that came
I'm all for it.
Okay, y'all.